Donald Trump talking about executing Liz Cheney, and let's just be clear, when you talk about 9 barrels, I'm sorry for all the folks out there who want to dance on the head of a pin. That is what he is talking about, an execution fantasy.
That was Jim Acosta, also known as Abilio Acosta at CNN, lying his rumpus off about what President Trump said. Now, the great Glenn Greenwald, we were talking J.D. Vance earlier, he said they're going to get the normal gay guy vote, right? Glenn Greenwald is one of those guys. I don't know if he's going to be voting for Trump because he's pretty left-wing, but he's a normal gay guy and a very smart guy and a serious journalist, and he can be relied upon to tell the truth, at least to seek to tell the truth. And Glenn Greenwald has weighed in on this very important moment. Donald Trump saying Liz Cheney should be shot in the face 9 times, and Jim Acosta is spreading this falsehood. Glenn Greenwald jumped in to make some very good points, as he often does. And he says, what Trump said about Liz Cheney, you cheer every war because you're never the one that confronts their horrors. Just great stuff. He says, this is what you guys have been yelling about forever. And honestly, says you cheer every war because you're never the one that confronts the horrors. Let's see if you still cheer if you're the one fighting. Is basically right out of Bob Dylan's 1963 Masters of War and standard liberal rhetoric for decades. And he actually posted the lyrics from Bob Dylan, and the Masters of War said, come you masters of war, you that build the big guns, you that build the death planes, you that build all the bombs, you that hide behind walls, you that hide behind desks, you that never done nothing but build to destroy. You play with my world like it's your little toy, right? You fasten all the triggers for the others to fire, then you sit back and watch when the death count gets higher. You hide in your mansion while the young people's blood flows out of their bodies and is buried in mud. Now, that's great, Glenn Greenwald pulling out Bob Dylan lyrics. And this is the rhetoric that the left has used absolutely, at least since early in the Vietnam War. All right? And now when Donald Trump says,
she's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it.
Honestly, and this is what the left has been chanting and writing about, and New York Times headlines and op-eds since 1964 anyway. Quite remarkable. And Glenn Greenwald, just great, as always. There are liberal bloggers and pundits, Glenn Greenwald writes today, who built their careers from 2002 to 2008 after September 11th, of course, by screaming almost daily about Bush, Cheney, and various neocons, exactly what Trump said about Liz Cheney. You love wars because you don't fight them. And that's exactly what President Trump was saying. And corrupt Abilio Acosta and the rest of the gang, just amazing stuff, said now they're acting offended for Liz Cheney. Isn't that great? And let's hear Abilio Acosta again, because this is what, and I read the CNN graphics off of their screen to you with their message, which is false, and that is Trump, Liz Cheney should be shot with guns trained on her face. He didn't say anything kind. Here's what Abilio Acosta just said a short time ago.
Donald Trump talking about executing Liz Cheney, and let's just be clear, when you talk about 9 barrels, I'm sorry for all the folks out there who want to dance on the head of a pin. That is what he is talking about, an execution fantasy.
Now let's play what Donald Trump actually said again, because the shameless, relentless communist, I think, can we call him fascist, Nazi propagandist? I think he's channeling Gurgle. He must be channeling Gurgle again. Here's what Donald Trump actually said.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. They're all war-hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Right, exactly. So is that Bob Dylan, or is that calling for her to be executed? I'll let you decide, but Emilio Acosta should be fired and maybe gassed. Maybe gassed. Just amazing stuff. This is our news media, the most corrupt institution in America. Appalling. So awful. So horrible. So corrupt. So dishonest. They cheat on their taxes. They cheat on their wives. They cheat on their expense reports. They cheat on everything. They lie about everything. They're liars. Just amazing stuff. And speaking of lying about everything, let's go to we got a couple of other big stars. I haven't even gotten to Mark Cuban, one of the many Democrat billionaires backing the billionaire warmonger caucus, the military-industrial complex caucus, the Democrat Party. But amazing stuff. There was a comedian last week. Was it just last week? It seemed it was a long week. It's been a long week. At Madison Square Garden at the big, it was Sunday too, wasn't it? At the Madison Square Garden event. And they had a comedian there, I think hours before President Trump showed up on stage. His name is Tony Hinchcliffe. And Tony Hinchcliffe at Madison Square Garden told this perhaps politically ill-advised joke about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage or something like that.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right.
And the crowd actually jeers, and he's like, okay, all right. You know, that's what a comedian says when the crowd doesn't like his joke. Now, if anybody in the news media had access to the internet, they could just Google Puerto Rico garbage crisis, and the environmental blog pops up from 2 days ago. Puerto Rico trash problem, understanding the crisis. There's a crisis in Puerto Rico and working toward solutions. That's the environmental lefty group, the environmental blog. Because for years now, Puerto Rico has been failing to deal with a garbage crisis on the island. National Panhandler Radio 4 days ago, the aftermath of the island of garbage Puerto Rico comment at the Trump rally. Now, there should be no aftermath except, hey, is there really still a garbage crisis, a trash crisis in Puerto Rico? Maybe we should do something about that. Just saying. And all you have to do is look. The Puerto Rico trash problem, a call for change in waste management. There have been people arrested and charged with crimes for stealing money. The what do you call it? Not the FDA, the EPA has been in there. FEMA has been in there, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, because of the garbage crisis, the trash crisis. And here we are, February 16th of 2021, Global Press Journal. Trash crisis leaves Puerto Rico near, quote, the brink, end quote. And it goes on and on. Eco-rich in 2022. Puerto Rico landfill problems, all you need to know. So this has been a major crisis for years in Puerto Rico. And his joke is, it's kind of a dumb joke. It didn't get a laugh in the audience. President Trump didn't hear it told. But the news media goes on a full-blown jihad for a week over this. And then Joe Biden, what did Joe Biden do? He called half of America garbage. Now, that's a garbage crisis. But for the news media, they get to work real quick cleaning that up for Joe Biden. There's no garbage crisis for Joe Biden.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
There you go. So, it's good to be a Democrat because of the level of corruption. The level of corruption. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, so comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, he told that joke last Sunday at Madison Square Garden, became a giant story. Everybody completely ignores the fact that there really is a garbage crisis. Doesn't make the joke funny, but there really is a garbage crisis in Puerto Rico, and there has been for years. And if anybody in any newsroom actually follows the news and isn't too stoned to remember what they learned last week, then they might say, well, like me, because if everybody just said what I said, they'd be a lot smarter. And and if they followed the news and then remembered it, they'd be a lot more like me. But I remembered the garbage crisis, and they had a hurricane and a lot of debris from the hurricane and all that stuff. So just like that. Now, Jennifer Lopez is among the people that has come out and is campaigning now for Kamala Harris, believe it or not. Why? Well, never mind. That's not important now. Because Cardi B with her fingernails, and she's campaigning for Kamala too. And when you got, and so is Glorilla, and they publish this. They're proud. Kamala Harris at a rally. It's the must-see event, according to this headline, because Glorilla is going to be campaigning for Kamala Harris along with Cardi B. Have you ever heard Cardi B? We played a lot of Cardi B over the years, and her fingernails, and she's pretty crazy. And now that Cardi B is coming out, there are headlines all over the place about how smart Cardi B is and how great she is. It's kind of amazing, Cardi B. But Jennifer Lopez last night campaigning for Kamala, and she is, I guess she's Puerto Rican. Is she Puerto Rican? She's very lovely, very attractive. She's kind of fun in movies, and she sings pretty well. But Jennifer Lopez.
At Madison Square Garden, he reminded us who he really is and how he really feels.
He didn't say it. He wasn't even there.
It wasn't just Puerto Ricans that were offended that day. Okay? It was every Latino in this country. It was humanity and anyone of decent character.
Because a guy named Tony Hinchcliffe that nobody could pick out of a lineup told a joke that made reference to an actual garbage crisis on the island of Puerto Rico that they could care less about, including toxic waste and all kinds of terrible things that they could care less about, because they really don't care about Puerto Rico or about Puerto Ricans, do they? Including the lovely and talented J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. But never mind that. Just amazing stuff. Now, a lovely and wonderful woman, Caroline Leavitt. Caroline Leavitt is the Trump campaign's spokesperson, a press secretary. I'll check on her title. But Caroline Leavitt was this morning on the Fox News channel, where they played the J-Lo soundbite, the Jennifer Lopez soundbite, and said, well, now you got Jennifer Lopez saying all Puerto Ricans and all Latinos and all people everywhere are offended by the joke told by a comedian named Tony Hinchcliffe that nobody could pick out of a lineup because he made reference to an actual garbage crisis in Puerto Rico.
She's wrong on this, and she's wrong in her endorsement of Kamala Harris, who has threatened the rights of women over the past 4 years, the right of a woman to go for a run without being raped and murdered by an illegal immigrant, the right of a woman to compete in athletics and not have to the fear of competing against a man. President Trump is the better choice on the ballot for women and for all Americans this election.
What a crazy idea. Boy, isn't that nuts that, you mean women in sports might have something to do with that? And J-Lo's wrong? I can't believe that. Man, oh, man. And by the way, yesterday in Puerto Rico, there was a big pro-Trump caravan parade. I'd say hundreds of millions of cars with pickup trucks and guys with flags and PA systems, and everybody's got a bullhorn, and in Puerto Rico yesterday, pro-Trump cavalcade. Be fair to call it a cavalcade.
Puerto Rico for Trump. Y nuestro próximo y seguro senador, Nelson Albino.
So there it is in Puerto Rico, a big pro-Trump parade yesterday. I guess Jennifer Lopez wasn't invited. And Jennifer doesn't care about the trash crisis in Puerto Rico and the toxic waste in Puerto Rico. And Tony Hinchcliffe should maybe think about different jokes at the next political rally. Just saying. You know that the best-selling Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier uses Oxy technology that helps to quickly destroy a whole lot of different viruses and odors and mold spores and more stuff floating in the air in your home, in your office. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. You know, it works like a champ. Any smell will vanish in just a few seconds with the thunderstorm being on. Odors from litter boxes and trash cans and cigarette smoke and left-wing protesters are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The powerful thunderstorm sends out O3 molecules that seek out and help destroy these odors. These molecules even go underneath furniture and behind furniture. Nothing can hide from the thunderstorm. And best of all, no filters to buy and replace over and over again like other annoying air filters. They're only this big. They're just this big. You can hold one in your hand, the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. So start enjoying fresh air, clean air in your home and your office again and get several thunderstorms because right now you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You're going to get 3 units for under $200. You can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, your kitchen, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com on Al Gore's amazing internet and use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S, and the number 3 to save $200. You can thank me later. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes. And we still have, who's that sexist Democrat, pig, billionaire, coming from his private jet, Mark Cuban. Now, he's really disparaging people. He's disparaging them. Joe Biden disparaging people by the tens of millions as garbage, right? But they're okay with that. I'm beginning to think they're not good neighbors. They're not on our side.
Puerto Rico. We love Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. And we also love Puerto Rico.
All right, let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Bill, calling from Scottsdale, Arizona. William, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Bill.
My wife and I were at the Tucker Carlson show last night, featuring 45 and 47. And,
excellent.
Yeah, everyone knew what Trump meant when he said that. The only way it would be an execution fantasy is if they somehow mistook Rachel Levine for Liz Cheney. I don't know.
Maybe Liz Cheney and Rachel Levine. Because Rachel Levine goes around in an admiral's uniform. She might be mistaken for a warrior. And when I say she, I really mean he, though, don't I?
Yes, you do. Have you ever seen those two in the same room at the same time?
You know, that's a fair question. I don't believe that I've seen Liz Cheney and Rachel Levine in the same room at the same time. You're suggesting there could be something to look into here. But you were in the audience last night with Tucker Carlson and with President Trump. And it's quite obvious for anyone that has 2 ears and half a brain. But I guess that excludes most of the media, doesn't it, Bill?
Yes, it does, always. RFK spoke beforehand, too, and I never clapped so hard for a Democrat in my life.
Wow. Yeah, RFK Jr. makes sense on a bunch of different topics. Not everything, but... Now, the song that you're listening to now is by a band called Garbage, which we brought up because of Joe Biden calling half the country garbage, right? The band is Garbage, and they wrote a song about Kamala years ago. Didn't they write a song about Kamala? The song is Stupid Girl by Garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Ah, yes, Joe Biden, the president of all the people. The left is here. And they are not on our side.
But she's a stupid person.
Stupid Girl by Garbage. Great stuff. We still got to get to the Democrat billionaire sponsor, Mark Cuban, who insults women. And it goes with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the band Garbage and their song Stupid Girl. It all dovetails beautifully, doesn't it? Just wonderfully. So we've got all that, and on the line, let's go to one more telephone call for the moment. Real quick, let's go to, and now I got to give Mark Cuban and the idiot media and all of this because this is kind of a crazy one. He insulted everyone. He's like, "Oh, I didn't mean it," which is fine when you're a Democrat. The media just erases it for you within a matter of minutes. Let's go to Professor Mike. Professor Mike calling from Canyon Lake, Texas. Professor Mike, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. Been a long time since I talked to you. I used to call from frequently from Prussia in East Germany. I was a professor over there teaching at the University of Brandenburg. But anyway, I just wanted to call about Kamala. She is. I'm a sort of an expert on personality disorders, and that's my thing. I'm a professor of behavioral sciences, and anyway, she has such a bad perception that she's been looking at these school buses that she calls yellow school buses. She's been looking at them for 50 years and never noticed that they're not yellow; they're orange. And so, anyway, that's a good example of her perception.
She doesn't perceive things as an intelligent person might perceive things. People typically refer to school buses as, yellow school buses, and in song and in art and so on. But nevertheless, and notwithstanding, so you're a behavioral psychologist, a professor. You were being a professor in Germany, in West Germany, until not too long ago, and now you're in Canyon Lake, Texas, and you've been examining Kamala. And what does it boil down to?
Well, there's two really significant things that I've noticed, symptoms. One is the symptom of perseveration. Perseveration is when you keep repeating the same phrase over and over again. It shows a lack of judgment, a really bad judgment. And so she could be, I don't want to diagnose her, from a distance, but it's a symptom of bad judgment, and she definitely has bad judgment, we can say that. And perseveration is repetition of the same phrase, like unburdened by what has been, like she keeps saying this. And she has other phrases that she repeats over and over.
Yeah, her middle-class background and the lawns in the neighborhood she grew up in. She has themes that she repeats again and again and again.
Right, and even when she's asked a question about one subject, she repeats those phrases that don't have anything to do with their subject. She's inappropriate.
And what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me she has either one of two things. She's either lying, deceiving, or she's has really bad understanding and concentration and judgment.
Not very intelligent. I think intelligent people can roll from subject to subject with great ease and comfort. And we see it all the time. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Joe Rogan interview, 3 hours long, with Donald Trump. Most people didn't watch the whole thing. And then J.D. Vance yesterday with Joe Rogan. And you flow and you roll from subject to subject, and you're comfortable moving from topic to topic, and you're not repeating the same phrases over and over again. And these are pretty fundamental measures of general intelligence, right?
Yeah, exactly. And she even flunked the bar exam after she studied it intensely. She was studying in law school, and right after that, she failed it. She failed the bar exam. So her not top of the line intelligence. I call her low-level intellect.
Well, if the low-level intellect, and if you were to sum her up, that'd be. I've got to move on to my Mark Cuban thing here. But if you were to sum her up, Kamala in a nutshell, what words would you use?
PBA. PBA is is a pseudo. Oh, excuse me. Wait a minute. PBA is a pseudo-bulbar affect disorder.
Pseudo-bulbar affect disorder. Sure.
Yeah. That laughing, that cackling is an obvious symptom of that. So, and that's also shows bad judgment. She has really bad judgment. That's how I would sum it up.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. She's clearly demonstrated poor judgment again and again. And so is the Democrat Party choosing her to be their backup quarterback because, well, first of all, they demonstrated the poor judgment to choose Joe Biden as their candidate, knowing that he was effectively brain dead, and then say, hey, brain dead's working for us. We've got Kamala as our backup. Let's go ahead and pick her.
Constitutional.
So you'd ban it, but rely on it.
She is a definite case of PBA there. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Very PBA-oriented. Listen, Professor Mike, thank you very much for the call. And I remember you calling from Germany, I do, and talking about a variety of things. A number of years ago now, it's been a number of years, but I do remember calling in from Germany. We have listeners all over the world, and we've had callers from all over the world, from from Israel and Greece and from Brazil and all over the place. We've had Russia. We've had callers from Russia, from Germany, of course. A lot of people from around the world. Now let's go to soundbite number 1, because this is Mark Cuban, the Democrat billionaire donor, and he's a sports team owner, private jet owner, big Democrat donor, and he's on his side, I think it would be fair to say. And the moment that he had was on The View. He was on The View yesterday, and he was coming to The View live from his own private jet, which is great. I think everybody should own a private jet. I think everybody would like a private jet if you could. I just don't have enough time. That's my problem. That and the $60 million plus gas money and stuff. But if I had that kind of money, I'd definitely have a private jet. I wouldn't go on The View, though. I'd mind my own business, probably, because I'm a lot more normal than Mark Cuban. But in any case, he's an egomaniac. He's Mark Cuban. Here's the headline from the left-wing radicals at Politico. Mark Cuban shows Democrats what they've been missing. And this is a story from several days ago, praising Mark Cuban for being such a great surrogate for the Democrats and for the Kamala Harris-Tim Walz campaign. According to Mark Cuban, Vice President Kamala Harris appeals to grinders. Grinders. Are those people that are on the app Grindr? Is that what that is? I'm not sure. People who put their lives on the line to make a dream come true. She has not put her life on the line, and she is nobody's dream come true, except maybe Willie Brown's. But other than that, probably nobody's. That's right. And he said that these are people that want better for their families and are willing to work nonstop to get it. She doesn't work nonstop. She's not making anything better for anybody. They're driven by the power of broke. He's just making stuff up all over but in any case, Politico did a story on Cuban being such a great surrogate. Just on the 31st, that's yesterday. It's day before yesterday, right? And now it's yesterday. They must have written it day before yesterday, because then he went on The View and he said stupid stuff, that Republican women are not strong and not intelligent, especially the Republican women that hang out with Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them. And,
listen to The View.
Nikki Haley will call him on his nonsense with reproductive rights and how he sees and treats and talks about women. I mean, he just can't have her around. It wouldn't work.
Right. Now, again, one of our brilliant callers said earlier today, imagine the lack of irony, the lack of understanding of irony, because the sense of irony, because it's very ironic that he's saying that Donald Trump doesn't surround himself with strong, intelligent women while he's talking to The View, the cast of The View, right? Whoopi and Sonny, and who's the other happy one? Joy. Oh, yeah, Joy. They got Joy and Sonny and Happy, and they just got these ridiculous names, and they're the unhappiest people in the world. Joy and Sonny and Whoopi, and they're all miserable. And he's talking to these women about strong, intelligent women when you have weak, unintelligent women that are being addressed. Quite remarkable. So this caused a bit of an uproar, as you might imagine. And then Mark Cuban decided, and the headlines all followed, Mark Cuban tries to clarify, the word clarify in quotation marks, after comment on The View widely seen as insult toward pro-Trump women. It might not even be just pro-Trump women. Cuban said he was not saying female voters are not smart, strong, and intelligent. No. And again, saying this stupid thing from inside of his private jet, which is kind of funny, too. They have no sense of irony. So billionaire Mark Cuban appeared to try and spin his way out of a mess that he had made after making some insulting comments on The View about women who support former President Trump. Cuban appeared on ABC's The View on Thursday morning when he made the comments. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever, Cuban said. It's just that simple. Sure, they're intimidating to him. Yeah, right. Have you met his wife? Because his wife is a pretty amazing woman. Have you met his daughter? Have you met his daughter-in-law? Have you met the women that worked in his White House? I was on my television show on Newsmax with two of them yesterday. Very bright, very strong women. And you're such a racist that you deny the existence of intelligent women who are everywhere around Donald Trump. Is he more of a billionaire than, I'm not sure who's more of a billionaire. But I was with Hilton Beckham and Mercedes Schlapp yesterday, who are wonderful, very bright, very capable women that worked in the Trump White House. But Mark Cuban is so arrogant that he doesn't bother to be well informed when he spouts off with idiotic things. Now, speaking of which, Laura Trump was on the Fox News channel this morning, and they played the Mark Cuban soundbite for him and said, well, what do you think about that?
They have been incredibly direct in what they think of the American people. Go back to Hillary. Deplorable, irredeemable, smelly Walmart people. Remember that? Remember how they've called us all fascists and Nazis? Obviously, we're garbage, according to Joe Biden.
Garbage, fascist, Nazi, stupid, the usual stuff. Laura Trump.
And any woman who would consider Donald Trump, who wants, I don't know, a great economy, safety and security around our country, a closed border, peace instead of wars around the world. Apparently, we are weak and stupid. Well, I don't think so, Mark Cuban. Take a look around. You obviously heard from Susie Wiles. She had that very nice post. You had Kellyanne Conway, the first woman, by the way, who ever successfully ran a presidential campaign when Donald Trump won in 2016.
Mm-hmm. Laura Trump is, of course, married to Eric Trump, daughter-in-law to former President Trump. Amazing stuff. And then another strong, intelligent, and lovely, attractive woman, Caroline Leavitt, who is a spokeswoman for the Trump campaign. She also was on the television early this morning responding to Mark Cuban.
Well, I think Mark Cuban yesterday learned the hard way not to mess with strong and intelligent Republican women who support Donald Trump. There was an epic amount of backlash from so many amazing women who have worked with President Trump, who are voting for him, saying this is extremely insulting.
Yeah, you think? Maybe. But when, CNN doesn't have banner headlines about this. CNN doesn't have Jim Acosta talking about this. CNN is nothing but a cheap, tawdry propaganda network for the Democrat Party. It's pretty extraordinary. Caroline Leavitt.
Just look at the women that President Trump surrounds himself with. First of all, his beautiful wife, Melania. Which of the 5 languages that she speaks would Mark Cuban like to have a conversation about him with on this? Look at the woman who runs our campaign, Susie Wiles, the woman who's running the transition back to the White House, Linda McMahon, or the women who President Trump tapped to run the RNC, Laura Trump. This was a ridiculous insult, not just to the women who work for President Trump, but the tens of millions of them who are going to be voting for him.
Yeah, well, they don't have to worry about being insulting. And now, what happened a week ago? A guy told a joke about an actual garbage crisis that's actually happening in Puerto Rico. And granted, it wasn't a great joke. It wasn't a fall-down funny joke. The crowd didn't like it either. He's like, whoa, okay, I'll move on. But they turned that into a week-long news story. Front page stuff, right? President Trump says the War-hawks wouldn't be such war-hawks if they had to go into combat with a rifle in their hand and rifles being pointed in their faces. And he's the villain of the story. He wants Liz Cheney shot in the face 9 times. Didn't say anything of the kind. But never mind, Abilio Acosta has a shelf full of journalism awards in his office because that's how filthy and corrupt and rotten to the core the journalism industry has become. Just talking about Rachel Levine, the so-called admiral at the Department of Health and Human Services, and transgender person, Democrat, in good standing. Rachel Levine, before becoming Mrs. Rachel Levine, fathered 2 children, was the father of 2 children, which is after, going to Harvard and things, fathered 2 children. And my sources tell me that Rachel Levine becomes furious when you wish her a happy Father's Day. Hey, happy Father's Day. Isn't that great? It's different being a Democrat, isn't it? All right, now, what do we have? We got the Yes, the son of Gerald Ford, President Gerald Ford, Jack Ford, was on the television this morning because his sister earlier in the week endorsed Kamala Harris. And so the news media said, oh, look, even Gerald Ford's family. So the son of Gerald Ford came out to kind of straighten out things.
I think President Trump's record speaks for itself. There was no question the border was much more secure when President Trump was in office. And, my dad could never have ever dreamed that we'd have 12, 14 million illegals crossing the border. I mean, the irony is Bill Clinton built the first double fence here in San Diego when he was president because the border had become uncontrollable back then.
One of many ironies, I've got to say. The Democrat Party is definitely the party of irony, and they just don't understand irony at all. No sense of irony whatsoever. Like Rachel Levine having 2 children as a man, but don't wish her a happy Father's Day because he's a she now, so you can't be a father, even though because the Democrats. And Gerald Ford's son, I'm glad that he came forward. He also brought his son, President Gerald Ford's grandson, who's also there, seems to be a young man of good common sense and supporting President Trump. A remarkable time that the Democrats have created here in the United States of America. A lot of bizarre stuff going on all around us. And the grandson said, my grandfather was an aircraft carrier named the Gerald Ford, the USS Gerald Ford. Telling you about the aircraft guy, his grandfather, served in the U.S. Navy in World War II. And, proud Americans, generations of proud Americans. And the Democrats have made everything so screwy. The left has made everything so screwy that they've got just whack-a-doodle-doo. Hey, this weekend, we got this daylight saving time adjustment. We have to fall back. Right? We fall back. It's kind of fun. We gain an hour, right? Kinda. But then it gets dark an hour earlier, which is another thing altogether. I blame Democrats for that, too. I'm not 100% sure. But we'll see. And then on Tuesday's Election Day. It's only 4 days from Election Day. Get your friends and family out to vote. Vote, and vote correctly.